Bobby Hemmitt, my brother, my friend. This brother here has been dropping information now for about 16 years, all over the country. They beg him from over in the UK to bring this information because, again, our people are dying for a lack of knowledge. A lot of times, black people confuse education with knowledge, and there's a clear difference. Today, this brother's going to bring you some knowledge and some wisdom. Hopefully, we're going to have some laughs along with it. And again, I'm just glad to have him in the house. So let's give him a round of applause for Bobby Hemmitt. Now we're gonna do a little something different. Normally, normally Bobby come and speak, but we're gonna come out the gate after you. You gonna do libations first?
We'll do the question and answer. Then
Okay.
We'll do
Okay. First, we're gonna do question and answer. So, if anybody got any question and answers about anything about what's going on, what's happening, how you feeling, now it's time to talk about it.
All right, brothers and sisters, I'm glad to be back here in the Baltimore, D.C., Maryland / area. You know, real special place for me. You know, my queen comes from this area, and it's ironic to tell a little story. I did a lecture in Baltimore back in 2003. What's the sister's name? Sister Carlene. And anyway, I met back up with the queen that I'm with now, the goddess. She was from this area, but she moved up. She was living in Philly at the particular time when I met her. I met her on the Million Woman March back in '97. As a matter of fact, back in '97, I met at the Million Woman March. I had a lecture during the same time. So after the march, they came to the lecture. And so and that was in '97, and by '93, 2003, she had moved back to this particular area. And she came to the Carlene lecture in 2003. And I first met Brother TJ at the Carlene lecture. And the brother wanted to take me to DC that day and do some things. But he said, I want to set up a lecture with you. And I knew it had to be spiritual because this lecture came about, I think, in January of 2004. And we did the lecture and walked outside of the building, and it snowed. And it was almost like some forces put things together amongst insurmountable odds. And so it was snowing the next day, and Linda called me at his house, and we started talking. And from there led to us continuing the conversation until she moved down on March 15th of that year. So this brother's responsible for, putting that scenario together that I can have my queen that I have now, which is very interesting. And I'll tell you some more things on ancestral things, whereas we are destined to meet certain people and hook up with certain people based on certain points in time. And I'll go into that because it has a whole lot of metaphysical meaning to it. I got a few things. I got a few things, very important things. We have certain spiritual documents come about. I have this one, which is a spiritual document. It's called A Ritual of the Third Eye. So what we're into now, we're not necessarily into reporting about these mysteries as if we are into the practicing stage or the application stage of these mysteries. So our ancient people left certain things behind that we would retrieve at a later date. And they used the Europeans, especially a lot of this stuff was brought up into Europe by the Moors, to be preserved so that we could get it at a later date. And I talk about this all the time in my lectures, the reason why it was imperative that the Moors go up into Europe for 700 years, not only to educate them, but to bring certain materials from the East and bring them into the West so that we could have this after we wake up out of our slumber. And it was going to be a long time because our slumber, we are just waking up the last 20-something years. Every now and then we will have a resurgence where our eyes will wake up, and we have them in the 30s, we had them in the 60s, we had them in the early 70s, and then as you know, COINTELPRO moved in the 70s and shut certain things down. Then we had a resurgence in the late 80s and the early 90s. And things moved to shut things down. We're going to tell you, they got a little more advanced about this, and as a matter of fact, I've been talking about this in the lecture, but Brother TJ had sent down a certain document to further the research that it was much more severe on what they did in the early 90s to shut down certain people or make certain people go to sleep. And what I mean by that here is they monitor when we're waking up. You notice in the early 90s, everybody was walking around with a little leather Africa on, even unconscious people. So first it starts with a style, and then you also had your conscious rap at that particular time. So basically they upped the ante on the fluoride, which is what we're going to deal with. The fluoride, which is the number one devastating thing to the pineal gland, as well as low radio frequency waves, as well as if you notice your TV set, the only way to really stop it, you got to put a heavy blanket over it. So let's say if you cut your TV set off at night, that's not enough, because it means if it's still plugged into the wall, it's on standby. So you get a breaker and you cut off the breaker, you know, where you put all those plugs in and you mash the breaker. It don't matter if you cut the TV, you can unplug it from the wall, cut it off at a breaker. There's still a matter because it has a battery on the inside that's still on. Just like your cell phone. Your cell phone is unplugged from the wall as you travel around, but it's the battery on the inside that keeps the cell phone going. So these TVs have a battery on the inside to keep going even when you unplug them from the wall. So that's why you need to get you some type of black velvet and drape black or dark blue velvet and drape over the actual TV. Not only does it emits all types of low radio frequency waves, but it also has a camera on the inside, so everybody is monitored. You see what I'm saying? But we can talk all day on those particular things, but we're also into the application. And here's a document that I'm going to be giving today. It's a 2-page document. I'm selling for $5. I go and I do the research, go in and dig detail and get to certain things. So there's certain things that came out of Moorish Spain, since we're talking about the Moors also, that they were holding on to for years, the Europeans. And this is coming from the Wiccan cult, which you must familiarize yourself with. And I'll tell you why. The whole witchcraft thing, because that's nothing but the priestess of Isis, or Aset. You see what I'm saying? And so white folks are at least maybe 100 years ahead of us in our own sciences. All because you all spooked out and everything that is yours somehow became evil. You know what I'm saying? Somehow became evil. This is a third eye ritual. It's a ritual on how to evoke psychic power and clairvoyance and the whole 9 yards. But this is one that works. So what it is I'll go in and I'll do the research and retrieve certain things. Well, I had to find this in the Wiccan, the Wiccan information, which the Wiccan information had 2 aspects of receiving their particular information. The first resurgence, the first rise of the Wiccans was the ancient Egyptians who traveled up in that land and built Stonehenge, or the Kamites, and set up the Celtic Druids. Now this was curious to me because I found a book called The Book of Isis and Osiris by the Celtic Druids back in the 1990s. And I'm, you see, what is this? And then it was interesting. So that's the first aspect as far as this Wiccan thing. The second aspect is that they benefited from the secret societies who actually preserved all of those particular magical texts on the Moors that was there for 700 years. You see what I'm saying? So they are into preserving all of the ancient primordial texts. So this is one that filtered down, probably came out of Hemmitt, went into Europe by the Moors, and this is a third eye ritual. That's 2 pages, because the second page is how to raise the Kundalini, 10 ways how to raise the Kundalini energy. We'll be dealing with all that today, but I wanted to put that out there also. Let me see if I got this picture. We had a great master to pass in March. Some of you know him as Brother C. Freemanell. Anybody heard of Brother C. Freemanell?
All right.
Great master to pass. See if I got his picture. To pass, this is one that Brother Azazel, this is a picture of it, and it's just it's the best we had at the time. But Brother C. Freemanell made the transition. So we paying homage to him, And so what we do is we invoke. But this is ironic. I'm kind of glad to do this. I was glad to make this opportunity because I saw the brothers, the Crips and the Bloods and the gangs out in LA on the videos when they would pour one for the brothers ain't here, they would take a 40 ounce and pour for the brothers ain't here. So, you know, I never had the opportunity. I was a little jealous. I said, man, I wish I could do that. But I never really had the opportunity in a particular setting and stuff, you see what I'm saying, until now, because this brother used to drink Old English. You know? Used to drink Old English. And don't laugh, because this is ironic. This is Old English, that's the tiger. Same tiger that jumped through the fence on Christmas Day, remember in the San Francisco Zoo? Yeah. Well, that's called the jumping. This tiger wasn't let out. This tiger actually walked through a wall and ended up on the other side. Real significant because these dimensions are bumping into each other, you see. So if you have all the elemental forces, which you got with nature and different things happening, the animals correspond with those elemental forces, so that thing happened. When we had a memorial for him down in Atlanta, I said, man, I forgot to get the Old English 40 ounce. And I was telling him, and so the brother, what's the brother name from, they talked about the 800, Brother Tap, that lives upstate New York, would say, well, that was interesting, he would drink that, because it said that the Moors invaded Europe in the late 1700s, but actually took power in the 800s. So the Old English represents the Moor. And when I was turning around to go back to my seat after I did my testimonial, he said, hey man, that was not one of the reasons I drank it. He said, I drank it because I wore burgundy fez and the sign was burgundy, it's just like the fez. So what does this mean? This means that these people do research, and not only do they do research, they understand certain things that we wearing this fez. This is this whole Moorish thing that's going down. And don't think that they're not up on it. Because I got documents from the prison. I had a homeboy that got a job in the prison as a prison guard, and he brought back papers they had to learn, and they had every symbol and mythology and everything for every person that was in the prison, from the Nation of Islam, the Moorish Science, the Hebrew Israelites, you see, even Christian sects. You see, so they had it all, they have to know everything. So don't think that when this thing is designed, it wasn't designed to put that fez on there. You understand what I'm saying? Now, I'm wearing a t-shirt, so we want to, this is so when I went to the store yesterday, I went to go get some Old English, they didn't have none. So I got a Red Bull. This is called a Red Bull, Schlitz Red Bull. So I went for a libation. Usually we pour it on the floor. We'll mop it up later. You pour it on the floor. I don't want to pour it on the rug. We can always mop that up. And that's for Brother C. Freemanell. I'll take a little sip too. We get into the groove of things. But this is the Red Bull. But anyway, that's how we do things. So somebody said, what does a master do in drinking malt liquor? You're going to find out about the masters. The masters never come in the people that you see all flowing in the vestibule of divineness. The master you're going to always take for granted. You're going to always look at the master and treat him with a heavy hand. Just like Yoda. You know, Yoda in Star Wars. You know, he used to live in a shithole and drinks and eat stew. And little, you know, in a little raggedy place. And Luke Skywalker, who was supposed to be his initiate, took him for granted and treated him with a heavy hand at first. So the master is never going to come in the people, especially in this day and age. You see what I'm saying? Especially in this day and age. The master is always going to be someone that you take for granted. And somewhat that is the disguise where we are right now, because believe it or not, the people who run this planet, they never think, they don't even, can't even realize, that they would never even realize in a million years that we're sitting up here learning this advanced knowledge. You see what I'm saying? They think that, you know, we are out here complaining. And what they think that what we still in knowledge is the same stuff that we was dealing with back in the day, talking junk about the white man. You see what I'm saying? He would never think that we are on the verge of our own magic, which is our own technology. You see what I'm saying? Now I want to show you, I usually don't wear nothing but dress shirts and dress clothes, and I do that for a reason. About 22, 23 years ago, Spirit came up and said, now you know you're going to have to wear. People got certain personalities. They said, look, you know, I think I I was 24 years old. They said, you're going to have to get up out of them sneakers and all that old stuff that they said, because you're going to look like a mass murderer walking around in sneakers and T-shirts and all the other stuff. So, and I said, man, that's kind of interesting. And then years later, when I gained a little weight, I realized, hey, that was right. I look like some Wayne Williams or somebody walking around here. And although he didn't do anything, but I realized what he was talking about. And so Brother Azazel did these Zarabanda T-shirts, which is the Congo rights coming out of the Congo, Africa, and later on supplanted in Cuba, South America, and Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico being some of the strongest of what's called Palo Manombe. So he did the Zarabanda shirts, and he said, I got one for you. I'm like, oh, that's a T-shirt. He said, no, it's a 6X, brother. He said, it's a 6X. It's going to do you right. And I said, okay, now, this is the first time a T-shirt fit me. But it was right. So the other day I was sitting on the bed, and I was like, wait a minute, I need to wear this. And sure enough, he has on his Queen Majade has on hers. So we pushing these powerful shirts of the Palo, and I think they got some over there that you need to get a hold to. And basically, he taking these particular Bebes and actually making this. This is the type of stuff we need to be into, something that's very powerful, something that illuminates. This is the god Zarabanda, which is the god of tell the little boy to close the little door right there. Oh, yeah. The Zarabanda is the opening of the gateway. This whole sign symbolizes a dimension of a whole nother universe. And we'll be getting into that particular type of science as we go on. So right now what we want to do is we're going to give a big shout out to Brother C. Freemanel. Ashe. Then we're going to do libations right after the question and answer. We're going to do a little different things. So, what's that? Oh yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. You know, you got to realize, celebration and ritual changes things. You see, changes things. Why do you think you still a lot of people stuck up in that church? Because that church got some powerful rituals. You know what I'm saying? Plus, I'm gonna be honest with you. Actually, if Jesus is Horus, I talked about this before, and it doesn't matter what name you call him. If Jesus came from Horus, and the people worshiping Jesus, wouldn't they be worshiping Horus or Heru? It'd be the same thing. See, and you look at the spirit world, you know, they don't get into the political aspect about it. So in so many words, the church is actually right on time. This comes from that's the scarab, which represents the heart chakra. It's called the heart scarab. We'll be talking about that today, because that's one of the ways that, you know.
I saw it last night.
We're ready.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, it was on the Cartoon Network, and Justice League had a shit identical to that. It's supposed to come out of space.
Okay.
That's why I became concerned.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting, because I had a dream about this about 20 years ago. Back, as a matter of fact, it was 1998. I had a dream of a spaceship called the Hemmitt Lady Kepra, which is the Kepra is the one with the beetle with the wings. And I had a dream about a spaceship, and this was back in 1988, 20 years ago, called a Hemmitt Lady Kepra. It's very interesting. So what we want to do is this sister is Brother Azazel's queen, Sister Majade. She comes with a whole lot of power, whole universe of her own. And so we're glad to have her in the house. Some of you have seen her on the videos, on the DVDs, and I'm glad to have her in the house. And she's going to come up and do a powerful poem for us. And remember, everything we do is in alignment with ceremony, and it is alignment with rituals, which actually changes not only the course of our surroundings, but it actually changes time itself. Each one of these events are major events in time that was prophesied to happen.
What's your stuff on the floor?
Just kidding.
Yeah, but I don't want you to treat people treat people up.
Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings, sister.
Yeah. You know, I know that there's so much hate going on in this world today, so I just wrote a little piece. Hold that. It's called Hate. If hate had a form, what would it be? Would it smile and grin or grit its jagged teeth? If hate had a form, what would it be? Would it flick its tongue and spew its lies with bony claws and demon eyes? If hate had a form, what would it be? Would it be ugly and contorted, its figures distorted, or would it have a face without a clue? In other words, would that mother look just like you? If hate had a form, who would it be? Much thanks.
All right.
Yes, I guess the individual has to decide what would that be. What we're going to do right now, because a lot of people, especially people who have heard me before, and the ones who haven't, we got a good little while to you to get to familiarize yourself with my particular information. But what we want to do right now is we want to change the format up a little bit, because change is supreme. As Dr. Richard King tells you, that melanin is chaos, because chaos is nothing but dark matter, the black holes in space. And melanin is nothing but the cosmic substance, not only of everything that's in the universe, but those things that's outside of this particular solar system before this particular solar system was formed. All that is in us, and that is chaos. And they got so many things now, chaos mathematics, chaos theory, and chaos magic, different things that the government has been dealing with about the last 30 years. So dealing with that change, that melanin is chaos, every now and then, no matter how rigid the rules are, every now and then something has to change. And we exemplify that in our creative process. We created the blues, we leave it alone. White folks take it. We created jazz, we leave it alone. White folks take it. You know, we create everything and then we get out of it. And some people say, why don't we stick with our stuff? But that is not what we do. If you're a creative being, you create. And something that's already been created, you see what I'm saying, is on the process of dying. So that's the laws of chaos and the laws of melanin. Change is supreme. Now change, chaos before it was called chaos in the Hebrew aspect, or the Kabbalistic, which makes it, the Kabbalistic aspect, which makes it Egyptian. Because these Hebrews are nothing but extension of the Baltimore Kamites compared to the DC Kamites, just another branch of Negroes. You see what I'm saying? Because we created everything. You know what I'm saying? So in this particular aspect, that's why we can't throw out anything. We can't throw out nothing, not even the Bible. You know, in Isaiah 45, they say, I will give you the treasures of darkness. And the book of Psalms, we know now you can't throw it out, because the book of Psalms is nothing but the love hymns from Akhenaten to Nefertiti. You see? As a matter of fact, while this is on my mind, they dug up the Dead Sea Scrolls in 1948. That would be 60 years, I think, now. This year. And they basically gave them most of, they've been translating them for the last 50, 60 years. And they basically gave them materials that they had already had in the Torah, the Tanakh, the Kabbalistic aspect, and later on into early Christianity, which is Gnosticism and different things. So they really didn't get a lot profound stuff. Now they got a lot more out of the Nag Hammadi library that they dug up in 1945 in Egypt, which is the Gnostic stuff, which is basically what the Old Testament was copied from and made out of. But anyway, but they did have this one thing. They had the copper Dead Sea Scrolls. And they took them years, they split them open, and they were still getting some of the same old text over and over. But they found out that they had Greek letters deposited among the Hebrew letters. And they translated the Greek letters, and it ended up saying Akhenaten, right in the Dead Sea Scrolls. You see. So we know that these things are nothing but borrowed text from earlier things, so we're still just talking about stuff that the family brought down through the ages. But one of the Hebrew words before it was called chaos, it was called ayin or ain. Then the word ain represents in the Kabbalistic tradition the number 61, which I was born in 1961, as well as Barack Obama. And chaos means change is supreme. And Barack Obama is saying what? Change. Which means chaos. Which means his name, 61, Ain. Which I was born in 61. We both born the same year. We both left-handed. You see, both left-handed. He's a lefty, I'm a lefty. You see what I'm saying? And we'll go into that. Some other things why the Pope had to come to meet with Barack Obama secretly. There's a reason for that. You see what I'm saying? To bear witness to a bloodline. And we're going to go into that also. You see, this Pope Benedict. You see, so, and why did he come 1 year after Queen Elizabeth came over? Because remember, she was at the Kentucky Derby, which is the date. She came the week before. You see what I'm saying? And so bearing witness to the new kingdom. We're going to go into all of that too. There's a real change going on. But you got to understand what's going on in the spirit world. So right now what we want to do, we're going to change it up. We want to go into a little question and answer. You get the juice rolling. You see what I'm saying? Because your questions are actually answers. And a lot of time when I come, I speak so long into a lot of people, they get up, they leave before they can get the question off. All the ones that stay, they go, wow, it's been 6 hours. Hey, I forgot what I was going to ask you. So let's go into anybody got a question right now, some things are on their mind. Anything other than Barack Obama and the Pope, because we're going to get into a whole science on that. You see what I'm saying? But then again, we'll see what the deal is, because something might have to come up because it needs to. Give me some questions. Mm-hmm.
Yes, brother. How do you raise the vibration of yourself? Through meditation? What do you do?
There's several ways to do it. As a matter of fact, I have a document here that's accompanying the third eye ritual. Okay, we have the third eye ritual that was left behind by the Moors that we had to go to the Wiccan cult to find. This is interesting because they celebrate today, yesterday, I think it started Thursday on the 1st of May, something called the Beltane. And the Beltane is basically celebrating the goddess, and celebrating the phallus symbol. What's the name of that pole they wrote? The maypole. That's also the phallus symbol. And so what it is a gateway that opens. It opens. Very spiritual time, the whole month. But it started on Thursday on the 1st. And it's called the Beltane Festival of basically the spring equinox, but also this gateway of the whole May, which is the mother, May, Ma, mother, Mama, the double Ma, mother. You see what I'm saying? And that's why you have Mother's Day. It's probably one of the most important times of the year. You see what I'm saying? Also, to celebrate the Yoni. We're going to get into that. But I know what the Yoni is. The Yoni is the vagina, which is probably the most powerful energy on the planet. We'll get into all of that. But this particular time right now is very powerful, and it's called the Beltane Festival. Go on the internet and look up into this type of stuff. But so we got these things out of, we had to get that third eye ritual from the Wiccan cult, which, to show you where we are, we still worried about identity. We Moors, we Egyptian, we Hebrews, and we don't realize we are all of that. And we was never just one thing. But we're so many thousands and thousands of years old till we could have been one thing at one time and another thing at another time. It's just the same thing. But when you are a primal person, it's kind of futile to argue and try to put yourself in one box. So my thing here is, somebody say, you Islam? I'm like, yeah. You Christian? I say, yeah. I say, whatever it is, you Chinese? I say, yeah. Why? Because we invented all of it. It's all ours.
That's right.
Like the Shang Dynasty. Shang Dynasty is started by Shango from Nigeria, which Barack Obama means, or Barack means lightning, which is Shango. And Obama means lion, which is Leo, which he's a Leo. You know what I'm saying? And even though he might not even be conscious of this stuff, it really has nothing to do with him what we even talking about. The presidency, you crazy to look for anything that's going to change your life based on the doggone government. That's not the point. We talk about the image. We'll get into that science. So we don't want to give you the wrong impression that this election is politically and economically going to change your life. Psychologically, it will. You see what I'm saying? And I'm not even talking about psychologically as far as the ego, but I'm talking about your spirit. That's a whole other thing. We'll get into that. We talking about some melanin lining up. But on this document of the third eye ritual, on the back of this is something called the zone of the fire snake. And it gives you 10 different ways to line up the pineal, the Kundalini energy within inside yourself. And all you got to do is read this particular document, and it gives you 10 ways to line up the Kundalini. Give you an example. Total concentration. Number one, total concentration of the mind and its source, brought into intense study and research by the state of mental quintessence, one-pointed concentration and mental energy and magical symbol and sigil. So they're talking about different things that you can do. Drugs and alcohol. Well, you can, scratch your drugs, but every now and then you can take a little sip. Because that's called a fire water, and that's what the ancient Egyptians used to do. And if you do some drugs, you do some natural stuff. Get you some selenium. It was a combination I took back in '93. Real powerful. Selenium, L-lysine, and phenylalanine. Take them three together. And I lost the combination, and what it was I had the L-lysine and I had the selenium, but I forgot about the phenylalanine. Those three things went to another level. So if you're going to do the drugs, they're talking about natural things that you can take, like vitamins. You see what I'm saying? Vitamins. I also have some other things that I'm going to go into today. A juice that comes out of ancient Kemet. A juice,
Monatomic gold.
Monatomic gold is one also. Yeah, that's one that Dr. Delbert Blair sells, and you'll be hearing from him, and he'll give you the information when he comes through. Also. So those are one. But right now, this is one that you can raise the Kundalini with, as well as a Nephilim ritual that I'm selling also. There's a ritual. It's a book out of ancient Egypt, and if you can get what you want if you study it and put up this particular entity. But we also have the third eye ritual also. These things that work. So give me some other questions right quick. Yeah.
They came out with the book, The Source.
Yeah.
How does it relate to our ancient science?
The secret source?
The original source, and what's a good book now? Straight to Kabbalion, what the secret now was talking about.
Yeah. The original source. Which one of them?
No, not the source. The secret.
The secret source.
The secret.
Yeah. There's a book out called The Secret Source, and the secret source is basically they took the. You all heard of The Secret. Oprah had The Secret on and all that. And basically what they did is they took one of the Hermetic laws, and which is the laws of attraction. And they made The Secret out of it, but they didn't tell you that they got those sources from some stuff called the Kabbalion, which is the Hermetic laws, which comes out of ancient Egypt, or ancient Kemet. And so it's called the Kabbalion. But anyway, there's a book out called The Secret Source. I don't have the author, but you just need the name. I might have the book up here. I might have the actual book up here. But it's called The Secret Source, which is the new one, which includes the Kabbalion. And it's interesting because the brother C. Freeman L. Let me put his picture up and get this more liquor picture from up off this thing right quick. You know what I'm saying? I don't want y'all to get a hankering. You got to be a master to master this stuff. Don't try this at home. You see what I'm saying? You see, all of the last month. So, He taught from a book called The Kybalion by the Three Initiates. But this book that came out the day he died, the book came out called The Secret Source, which also has the Kybalion included in it. And those are some of the Hermetic texts of the laws. There's different laws. The laws of mental laws, vibration, several laws. It's 7 Hermetic laws. They only took the one to give you the secret from. But so you want to access the other Hermetic laws. And I recommend this particular book because it gives you a much more. Not only does it have the Kybalion in it, but it also gives you a history of different aspects of it, and more on the original author, Hermes, on the original author Hermes, which we call the Egyptian Tahuti or Thoth. That's where our word thought comes from. But so you want to get that book. It's called The Secret Source. They sell it at Barnes and Nobles, and it says the laws of attraction is but one of the 7 Hermetic laws. Here's the other 6. So that's the one I'm promoting. Was that the question, or you had any other thing to go with it? So basically, that Kybalion, and the reason why we say that is because he made the transition in March, and the day that he died, the book that he taught on for years came out in a new format, and it proved that basically they took the secret, which everybody's going crazy off of one law, and they're making all this money on the secret, the laws of attraction. And there's 7 other laws, or 6 others, 7 in all. And they use the laws of attraction because the simple fact, that's the greed one. So you say attract money, you know you're going to get people to do something. So, but there's other ones, and if you access the other 7, you see what I'm saying? You would have a much more holistic aspect, a holistic life. So that's the one you want to get. It's called The Secret Source, is the book you want to get. And it came out in the day he died in March, and the day he died. Another book he was working on a book called on a book dealing with the Bible being a zodiac book. And I said, well, why you've been working on that since I knew you? He said, well, it's going to be about 700-800 pages. And I was like, why? He said, that way no person can bootleg it. Black people at least bootleg your stuff. So I got a big book. I said, you must don't know Azariah. Azariah, man, he got some books up there that's shoot. He got that Bull Gnostic workbook is about 600 pages, and he sure got it on his table, spiral bound and stuff. So, but anyway, the day he died, this book came out called The Gospel of the Zodiac, and it shows you the Mark, Luke. All these particular ones, enough of them a different zodiac thing. So this book is broken. And I said, it's ironic that the book that you was writing, somebody wrote the book for you and put it out in both of these books. The Secret and The Gospel of the Zodiac came out the day he died. Or the day he made the transition. You see what I'm saying? So get that book, The Gospel of the Zodiac and The Secret Source. We got other books we'll tell you also to get.
I got a question, man. What's the real deal, man, behind that Jeremiah Wright thing, man?
Okay, well, I was going to deal with that, but I'll deal with that now. Somebody got to Jeremiah Wright between the time they did those snippets. Now, let me tell you what I'm talking about. That's the Judas factor, because he threw a monkey wrench in right in the middle of something. See, the problem here is we get so emotional. What he was saying was right, but it wasn't necessarily right for the rest of the country to hear. Right. You see, you don't discuss family business out. You see what I'm saying? That's right. Because that's not their experience. Right. You telling white folks that America is evil and this is the greatest country that has happened to them. Hell, if I was a white person, I'd say the same thing too. My God, we got it made. Or had it made. But they got tent cities now, they're not showing. These white folks done lost their houses, and they got tent cities going up all over America. White folks living in tent cities, and the media ain't showing it.